He said, I baptize you with water, but there's one coming after me that will baptize you with fire. Why fire? Because nothing remains in its present form when fire touches it. If you have made a promise that you don't keep, what are you? You are a liar.
Father, forgive them when they start exploiting their friends. Father, forgive them for backdoing their mans. Father, forgive them, I'ma just pray they repent. Hope that no favor ain't fair. I'm the reason they stopping.
God said, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive your sins and heal your land. So don't look to them, look to God, look to yourself, break your covenant with hell and death, then make a covenant with Black America and let's help it.
Yes, sir. Passing the torch. Episode 15. It's hard to believe we've already been through 14 episodes already. It seems like it gets better and better. The good Lord Jesus keeps setting me up. Today's guest, man, what do I say? But what a surprise. I've been looking for this young man for a few years, you know, asking about him, wondering how he was doing. I had the pleasure of raising him for a few years, some years back, and was an experience, to say the least. But we made it through it. And this podcast is about manhood, those that don't know. And I asked him to be on the show today for various reasons. But one of the main reasons is because after speaking to him and talking with him briefly, he exemplifies what this show is about, manhood. And I'm proud of the young man he's become, persevering the things that have challenged him in his life. And that's one of the things being a man is all about, is persevering challenges. He's a father, college man. He's working. He's got a prominent, I think, situation he's in to further his career, what have you. But I'm not going to talk anymore. But I want to introduce to some and introduce to many my good friend Stephen Wad Vogel. Hey, Steve, how you doing, buddy?
Really good to see you. I was getting amped up on the drive over here because it's been a long time. 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
Jeez, you that old, bro?
38. I just turned 38 January 18th.
Oh,
so,
wow.
20 years of growing.
Yeah.
Growing, I'll call it that. And my own struggles.
I mean, and that's. I mean, I don't know if you've watched any episodes, but that's what this podcast is all about. It's about the growth of men and how men persevere. You understand what I'm saying? So how to become a man, you know, you stay a boy for, you know, as long as you make excuses. Which I'm actually reading a book, No More Excuses, and it's been delicious. But it's about not making excuses as a man. You have things, you have priorities, you have responsibilities. Your father, correct?
Correct.
How old is your daughter?
She's 5.5.
5.5.
Yeah.
So tell me, how's that been? Before we go into a little stuff, how's that been being a dad?
Life-changing.
Yes,
Absolutely life-changing. Dare I say, soul-changing, because it just did something to me, and it the things I recognized about myself that I was scared to change, it just, I don't know, it gave me that extra push
Okay.
to like know that I absolutely have to do something with myself now. It is detrimental not just for me, but for an extension of myself.
Mm.
And it was really hard
Yeah.
accepting the things about myself I didn't like, and trying to find that courage to like say it out loud and tell the people I was closest to that I think is probably part of the reason why she's not with me anymore. But you know, I found it better to be honest and truthful. That way I can continue to operate that way instead of holding things in and not being happy with myself.
Okay.
And
And that's powerful, Stephen, because you know that's one of the things about becoming a man is being accountable as well, taking accountability. Like women typically, you know, are quicker to take accountability for the things that they do in relationships. And in my experience, I mean, it's changing now. The demographic is changing. It's very hard to have a woman take accountability, but the main thing, men definitely don't. They typically, I'm the breadwinner. I make the money. I take care of this household financially. I don't owe you anything. I'm already done it. So to take um, accountability is huge, and which for me and you, to me, that's huge because of what I've known of you as a young man growing up in my house. And I would like you to speak on that a little bit. How we met, you know, how you became a part of, you know, my nucleus as a family.
Okay.
With Deontay, everybody, Deontay's back on the show
In the
today.
building.
And Deontay was living there at the time as well, along with a few others. So expound on that for me, Steve.
Okay. Well, I mean, you guys know, you know, but mom, dad, were not responsible. Dad, he was out of the picture at 2. Mom, well, they were both alcohol, and I think the drug of choice back then for them still was crack. But growing up and getting, you know, piecing things together, I figured out it was my dad that was the bad influence overall, but my mom, you know, ended up staying in that lifestyle after separating with him. So, you know, eventually word got around to CSB that, you know, 4 children were being left alone for days at a time. So I think we were loaded up into a paddy wagon as 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. And then my oldest sister, Lorelai, who was like, I think like 13 or 14, she went to go stay with another family friend. So we're put into a foster home, Denise and Dennis, there for 2.5 years before they adopted us. I still can't really wrap my head around what went wrong there. You know, I know I wasn't making the best choices for myself, and I was very angry.
Understandable.
But there were things that happened around me that I just knew inside. I'm like, this isn't my fault. But I didn't feel like I was equipped to just like honestly express myself. So I always bottled it up, you know.
Yeah, of course, man. You were young. What 12, 13?
About 13
Yeah,
when
you had to be
you
about
and I
13 when you came in.
first encountered,
Yeah.
yeah. But I was with her and Dennis for, you know, a good 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so 5 years. And then I guess I was too much to handle. First it was with Bev, and I guess I just couldn't get my act together. And
so they sent you with the big dog.
yeah. Well, remember, so I was with Bev for maybe a year and a half the first time. And I guess I was good enough. And I went back to Denise and Dennis. And then less than a year later, you know, I was back in juvie. Sat there. I think I was in juvie for like 2 weeks before Bev showed up and got me out. and then there was one or two homes in between, and then I
Okay.
went right over to you.
So it was like, so how was that experience, man? Like, it's like you're not good enough to be at a home. So this person said, well, he's not good enough. He can't stay here. Then you go to another place. He's not good enough. He can't stay here. Then you go to another. I mean, how was that feeling? Do you still remember that feeling of being shuffled around?
I definitely remember the feeling, but I was too shut down and too closed off to the world to really recognize it and
Okay.
even understand it back then.
Okay.
So I think if I wanted to back then, even if I wanted to, I couldn't have done anything about it because
Right.
I wasn't self aware enough.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just
yeah.
too emotional, too angry, too closed off.
Yeah.
Couldn't trust nobody, and
I understand. I mean, it
but,
makes sense as a child. Yes.
I think at moments I tried trusting people, but then I would either make a bad decision and ruin that trust and
Mm-hmm.
go back internally and just shut down and be angry again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? It's unfortunate, Stephen, because I think that when you're a person that takes an abused child, okay, that you're a child, so you the way you process things is the way a child processes things. Um, I don't think it should be unless you're violent, like you're hurting my family, if I have kids or anything like that. I don't think it's too much that should make you that should allow you to release that child. I can't recall ever
Well,
giving back a child. I don't.
I'll be honest. I mean, one of the bad decisions I would make. I'd get into fights.
Yeah.
I'd go hands on.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But I mean, you wasn't hands on with the care provider. You was hands on
No,
with maybe the
no,
kids.
yeah,
like
yeah.
I briefly recall since DeAndre's here, you and him getting into a fist fight before at the house. And I mean, you were angry. You were angry. You were an angry kid, and I get it though, because one thing that I learned early on in the field that I was in when I was doing foster care and having fostering young men was the fact that you were angry. In the first training that I had with Lucas County Children's Services, they had a piece of paper and they shredded it. Like they told them people just to rip it up. Some people shredded it up into little pieces. Some just did like a 4-way tear up, whatever. And then they said put it on the table. And they said now put that piece of paper back together. So those of us that shredded it were like, it's impossible. I cannot. I mean, if I could try, but and those that tore it into like 4, maybe they could piece it together and whatever. And they said, well, that's the children you will be getting. These are the children. They've been ripped up, torn up, and it's your job to put them back together. So I never forgot that training. So even though I had kids that cursed me out, I think you cursed me out a few times.
A couple times.
Cursed me out, maybe got bucked up, physically a little bit. I never forgot that training because I have to understand these are children. No matter how aggressive it may look or more how angry, because at the end of the day, it's just about anger. This kid is angry. He's in a foreign place. I'm not biologically theirs. I don't know you really to trust you. Dude, get out of my face. I'm not listening to nothing you say. I get it. Like, I totally get it. It was just, I had to keep, certain boundaries in my home.
Yeah.
Could I stop you from fighting Deontay, Demetrius, or whoever else was in the house? No, I couldn't. And I couldn't, you're a white kid, they're black kids. That was playing a part. It was a lot of different dynamics that I couldn't control. It was the only thing I could do is try to teach, practice resistance, continue to try to love on you and tell you what's right. And like, dude, I never had a grudge against you. Did I get angry at you? Absolutely. Did I get angry at you? Absolutely. Did you guys have to be disciplined? Absolutely. That's just part of parenting. So, but I feel like I was fair to everybody. Everybody had a unique situation that they came from, you know, you and Deontay's was more similar. His mom was on drugs. I mean, but she just had a different dynamic. She toppled the drugs with prostitution. So and then involving his sister. So that made it a little more extreme, if you will. It was just different dynamics. So I think that along the way, you know, I never gave up on you. You had a lot of issues and you was fighting back, fighting back. I don't know.
You let me stay till I was 18.
Yeah, you stayed till 18. Okay, so I didn't remember how if you emancipated from my home or you just left. Okay, that's what's up. So we were in Perrysburg at the time, correct?
Yeah,
When we was there. So
off Bishopswood.
yeah, Bishopswood Lane. So I just had fun with you guys, honestly. Like, you know, Deontay and Don kind of ran the house. You know, they was kind of the big brothers of everybody.
Yeah.
And they kind of kept a certain temperament in the house, even though they would lose their cool sometimes because they were kids as well. I mean, they were under 18. And, but how was that experience for you, Deontay?
No, I thought it was, you know what I think helped a lot, even though I don't think this talks about enough. It's good to me. It was a plus, and I don't hear a lot of people talk about that. Saying it, I like being next to Steve, growing up with a Steven, because they had similar situations in my life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times when I was growing up in the, you know, I used to think that I was the only one going through that type of stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My mom's on drugs. You don't understand. I'm fighting everybody because they acting like they got normal moms.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My mom's on drugs and prostituting.
Right.
But when I could meet Steven and we lived together and we got the same situation going on, I'm like, oh man, we got the same thing going on. And you know, we bond.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And become like, you know, brothers because it's like, wow, you know, somebody else is going through a tough time and it's not so far different from what I'm going through. So I think that's a plus that doesn't get talked about a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to mention that. So I thought it was good sometimes to be around people that have kind of similar story as you because you kind of learn off each other and heal together.
And that's true, but check this out. But it also was kind of difficult at times because
Absolutely.
you take two angry people based on the situation that they was dealing with. Sometimes they collide and clash. So sometimes y'all collided.
Yeah.
And with the collide, what would you say was the happy resolve? Like when it stopped, you know. Of course, I'm gonna break the fight up and it's over with. You guys gonna shake hands and move on. What was the happy resolve between after, you know, different fights?
I think what it is that when we get back to where we're supposed to be, that's like the real family dynamic.
Okay.
In any family, you're going to have disputes. You're going to have, you know, altercations.
Right.
I got two biological sisters I had altercations with. We used to cuss each other out, hate each other, throw stuff at each other, fight, you know what I'm saying? But then as you get older, you realize I still love this person to death. This is still my family. This is still my people. You know what I'm saying? And you still, you know, and it almost, I think, you don't want altercations, but it make you stronger, make you appreciate more because, dang, this person was in the trenches with me.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They know, they see the before and after of me, and they went through the struggle with me. So it's like, it's a place that really can't be replaced.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you meet me now, you just see how I am now.
Right.
But we grew up together.
Right.
I know little Steven. He know little D. You know what I'm saying? He know, And then we see each other as adults. We like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like a thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? And a respect.
Right.
Because it's like, you saw the whole story. Right. You was in the beginning of the chapters and now in the end. You know what I'm saying?
So the lessons learned in that. Like so Steven, when you came in, obviously you was very rebellious initially. What do you think was the dynamic that kept you in my home?
That's a good question. This might sound a little simple, but it was just having somebody that wanted me there. That was, you know, I knew back then who the good people were and who, you know, who wasn't to be, I don't want to say not to be trusted, but the environments I was in, that was doing the most damage compared to the environments I was in that was doing the least amount.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, because I was telling him earlier that, these past couple of years for me have really put me in a like retrospect or like just introspective mode and wanting to pick out certain things that I knew were wrong with me. Or not, I wouldn't say wrong. Things I could improve on. Certain characteristics that I know come from my childhood that I could just improve upon because I've done things that have impacted people around me, and I don't want to keep making decisions.
Right.
So I do apologize. I lost my train of thought there.
No, it's okay. No, we was talking about what made the dynamics that you thought, what made it easier for you to stay with me than with other people, because other people said, "Oh, he got to go, and you stay with me," even though I know the dynamic was a little, off. Were you the only white kid in my house at the time, or did John come?
I think John was there briefly.
Okay, briefly.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying, I had majority black kids then, and you coming in, and I know that played a part sometimes, like maybe because of how you were raised, where you brought up in. Talk about like, why do you feel like you end up being able to stay with me and move forward and be able to eventually emancipate from my house?
You were the closest thing that I felt treated me like a son, and I felt like you were a father figure to me. No disrespect to Dennis, because he reached out to me before he passed away, and we had some, we hashed some things out. But there was just, at the time, and when I was with him, he very seemed like uninvolved, and he took us places and did family stuff. But when the nitty gritty, like having those deep conversations that you should have with your children when they reach ages where they're able to relate to certain like directions in life, so you gave that to me, and I may not have always recognized it back then, but I mean, I think it was in my heart that I was in a safe place.
That's good. That's good to know. And even though, I mean, it's good to know that you felt that way and recognize, because I didn't always feel like you felt that way. Like,
well, that
like
was
it was
the,
like,
that was the anger talking.
I'm ready to get out of here.
That was the anger.
But I knew, like, did you go to what school did you end up finishing at? Was it the school down in Perrysburg, like up? Oh, Rogers. You went to Rogers.
Yeah.
I thought you went to that vocational school that was right off the highway. You didn't go
Penna. Well,
Penna, yeah. Penna.
No,
you didn't go to Penna. Okay, that was. I think John ended up going.
I agree. Dealing with people that's hurt, issues and not show you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That's why hurt people.
Hurt people.
But one of the things that I will agree with you about, Stephen, about being in Tripp's house, healing was going on too. You know what I'm saying? And I think the dynamics of the house, we got to talk about life stuff. We would have conversations, things, and without even knowing it, because we're not of age, but we getting it out, preparing ourselves for the future. We're healing at the same time. So although hurt people, heal people. And you used to give us, your stories and your experiences of all the kids. You work with kids before you had foster kids, so you were prone to this. So, but you would give us those lessons. Them life skills, independent lessons that will help put us back together, like that paper you was talking about. That's what's putting us back together.
And I'm glad you said that, and because I mean, this show is not about me. Obviously, it's about manhood, and those that may be listening now. I mean, that's a key component where he said that when you have children, when you're rearing a child, they have a voice. You know what I'm saying? It's my way. You're my house. You do what I tell you to do. No. Because that's not understanding. Like if they don't have a chance to voice their opinion or thoughts about something, sometimes they just don't understand. you can just bark rules and laws and principles and whatever without really giving them a voice to kind of speak, to kind of understand. Everybody has an understanding. And I feel blessed having an opportunity to raise you guys because it made me better as a person. I think I was awful as a husband. That's not funny, but because I was more focused on y'all than I was my wife. You know what I mean? And it showed. Like she was like, I want everybody out of here. Like I don't want no kids in here. Like she hated it because she saw all my attention was based on the kids. Like these ain't even your kids. Why do you do it? And like so y'all did something for me. I know I did something for you, but you did something for me. I had a sense of being, and I think being a parent, you feel that. Like it's no longer. I heard something. A good friend of mine, Sierra Rogers, is pregnant. A great friend of mine, I love her to death, and she's getting ready to have a child. And she had posted something about her name change, like she's no longer Sierra, she's mom, and the great privilege that is to be called a mother. You know what I'm saying? When I started doing what I was doing with young people, I didn't want to be called. I was too young. I had too much swag. I was like, y'all better not say I'm your daddy, I'm your brother, I'm your big brother. Like I ain't like it. Deontay, no. We'd be out, so I'm like, man, I ain't your dad, I'm your brother. Because I didn't feel old enough. And then I think a part of me didn't feel like I deserved that title. Because that's huge, man. To call somebody your dad, your father, to me is huge because that means something. You just can't be throwing that word out there without doing the work. You understand what I'm saying? And even though I was doing the work, I didn't feel like I deserved that title. Like, especially when y'all came through, I was still in my younger felt, you know what I'm saying? I was in my 30s. Like, I still felt young, like, and you guys were like teenagers. So I'm like, I'm not no father, you know what I'm saying? I had a daughter and she was, but she was very young, but so I didn't feel like I deserved that title. So I moved in that vein a lot. But to look back and to hear some of you guys' experience with me and what I brought to your life, I look back and say, dang, you know what? I was a father. I was a dad to these boys, you know what I'm saying, that have been torn apart, torn from their families, having to deal with the reality I'll probably never see my mom or dad again, or never be with them for sure, as far as living with them, or the fear that's attached to being in someone else's home that I didn't know 5 years ago, I didn't know 2 years ago, the fear of being unsure. Does this person really have my best interest at heart? Does he really care for me? Does he really is he really going to help me get to where I need to go in life? All those fears, I understood that even then, like, and that's why I was who I was. Did I get angry sometimes? Did I, make threats, maybe even inappropriately give you a nice little lashing? I don't know. I don't remember all that, but I know it was all done with love. I know that for a fact. That even though, and I went through. So I mean, them dudes stole my car, they stole my trucks, motorcycles. They were stealing stuff, driving and you come home. I remember a lot of kids, but it was never me. I remember John. If John, you listen, you out there, Jonathan Sorosiak stole my. I had an orange car. And I'm driving home, right? I'm in my Benz at the time, and it's nighttime. Like, I'm driving through downtown Perrysburg, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden, like, I see my car. I'm like, and it's coming towards me. So we, at the same time, we kind of turn and look at each other at the same time, and he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, I'm like, what? You in my car? So I turn around, he takes off like, boom. He's flying through downtown Perrysburg. I'm behind him. Then he turns the lights off in the car, thinking I can't see him. And I'm like, he's getting ready to kill himself, man. He's getting ready to crash. So I slowed down and just veered off and said, I'm just going to go home. Hopefully he'll go home. So I go home, and the master bedroom was on the first floor. So when you come into the house, you got to come past my room to go upstairs to where the kids' room was. So I'm sitting at my desk on the computer, just sitting there waiting for him to come home. And he comes home maybe 30 minutes later. He takes off his clothes and stuff out, I guess in the garage or whatever. So he just has his boxer shorts on, just some shorts, shirt off, no shoes or socks. He comes by my room, he's like, "Hey, Trip," and moseys on up the steps. I'm like, "What? Hold on. Like, you gonna act like I just didn't see you driving my car? What are you talking about? Who was driving in the car? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Dude, are you..." Like, it was so scripted that, dude, it almost worked. Because
it
I'm
was
like,
fun to watch.
am I tripping?
It was funny to watch.
Man, I lost it on him. I picked him up by his shorts and tossed his butt outside. It was just, but I went through all that. When I look back, I had fun, though. Like, that guy, he didn't hurt himself and nothing happened, but I had fun. Demetrius stole my motorcycle, got caught by the cops. They called me. He stuck up this road because he doesn't know how to put it in gear. Like, it was so many different dynamics just raising young boys that when I look back, man, I cherish those years because I really enjoyed y'all, man. It was a pleasure. Like, I have no regrets of like, man, I shouldn't have this kid, that kid. My worst kid. I mean, I don't think I had a really awful child in my home. Now, in the group home, I can't remember the kid's name. He was probably the only kid that I could say I could not handle whatsoever. I don't know his name. You remember his name? The dude that used to always get in fights.
And never quit.
Yeah, he never quit.
I know he came with his brother. He came with his brother.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
Well, anywho, that kid, he would kick in the front door
He
like,
went to jail.
boom!
He went to jail.
Knowing that he's getting in trouble, be sitting on the couch like, with the door broke, then he kicked in like, "Hey, well, nobody here." I'm like, "What? You just kicked in the door, bro. Like, you just destroyed my door, my guy. What are you talking about?" So, I just, my heart is full, man. I haven't been around.
But I think kids understand that.
What?
I think all kids have a sense of their who loves them and who don't. Yeah. Even with not as a, you was our foster dad,
right? But
you know who are the good foster parents and who not. Right. You can just be around them, the time they spend with you, how they interact with you, the things they do with you. You know how. That's, I don't care if you a teacher in the classroom. Right. Teachers, kids know. Right. I ain't messing with Miss S. Right. She about some B. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I mess with Mr. T because you know what I'm saying? Because I can feel that he really care about me. Like, you just know. And I feel like you always let us know with the time you spent with us, the things you did with us. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you was having fun. I was having fun because you was having fun. You having fun, taking us on trips. We meeting, like athletes, and we down in Miami and we in New York for school shopping. Like, some of these experiences I had never experienced in my life. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going on a shopping spree in New York. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For school? Yeah. Like, what? I can't wait to go to school. Right. At first I didn't want to go to school. I ain't had nothing to go to school. But now I'm about to be the, you know what I'm saying? So
it was a dusty kid.
Yeah, it was an experience. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, you never forget that time you spent or that, it was I think that's what we, and that's why you earned the title.
And now looking back, obviously, yes, I do know that. But going through it, I didn't know it. You know what I mean? I knew, my homage was to Christ the King. You know what I mean? Y'all saw me pray. Y'all saw me go to church. I pulled y'all on to church and tried to give you a sense of who God was and who was the governor in my life, because I couldn't do that by myself. It wasn't in me because I didn't know. My father was totally different. My father was a totalitarian. It was like, I'm not going to explain myself to you. You're my child. Shut up. Do what I tell you to do, or you got a price to pay, young fella. And I didn't live with my dad, so I saw him on the weekend. So it was like, oh, okay, that's how you govern your children with an ironclad. I couldn't ironclad y'all because you wasn't my child. I wasn't supposed to whoop you and beat you and all that stuff that I had to deal with my father. So it was more so if you don't have that, you got to use your words. So with the grace of God and his guidance and and his power, I was able to communicate myself. And thank God you guys saw my heart and didn't make it that difficult because it wasn't. It really was not. I mean, yeah, I had to put a lock on my door and different things, but those was just, just mischievous things that I felt that y'all went to.
You had over 100 kids, well over 100 kids, right?
Oh yeah, between the group home and
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've never heard one kid say ever that they did not want to be there. I've been to multiple foster homes. I've always heard kids say, I'm trying to get out of this house. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. I want to go to a different foster home, or I want to go back.
So what do you think the dynamic was? It my age? Because I was so close in age with y'all at the time.
I think it was the whole package. Like, it was the whole, it was more than just like, it was some freedom given at the same time. You know what I'm saying? You be cool, I'm gonna be cool, you know what I'm saying? You you like earned your keep. It was just the whole package was, and nobody, even if they acted up, they were scared that they were gonna get kicked out.
Right.
It was never that the choice to tell a caseworker or anybody that we want to leave.
Right.
That never was happening. Even if I messed up and I didn't do what I was supposed to do, I still want to be in Trib House.
You hear that, CSB? Y'all gave me a hard time, man. Dang, come on.
I would agree with him. You gave us independence, but I mean, like you said, you didn't realize it back then either, but you were leading by example. Because I mean, I remember being in your house and being like, man, Trib's freaking cool. Trib is a cool dude. What he does is powerful. And I knew the moment I knew that you absolutely cared about my well-being and wanted the best for me, was I had ran away, and I made it 10 miles down towards Findlay, but you went out looking, you couldn't find me, and but then you had phoned it into the cops, and they had eventually one passed me and said, hey, Trib's looking for you. Which, what got me was I was over 18 at that. I was already. You didn't have to do what you did. You could have been like, he's 18, legally a grown adult now. His decisions are going to impact him. You could have let me learn a very hard lesson, whatever that outcome would have been, because who knows? Because I was way too immature to be doing what I was doing, But I knew then, I'm like, wow, man, he didn't have to do that. He could have just let me go. I could have been no trouble for him anymore, but you did that. And it at least left something in me that I was able to recognize later in life and kind of turn it into part of me.
That's heavy,
especially like I said, now being a father, that's got me so wanting to improve on certain aspects of my life.
Yeah. And one of the big aspects is when, is about the forgiveness piece. Like with your kids. I know parents that hold grudges against their kids. Like it's their fault for some of their behaviors. And I believe, and this is just me, I believe that a lot of our children's behaviors is because of the parent.
Can I tell you?
So you got to take some form of accountability that your child, why is my child acting like this? When have you sat down and really understood? Or did you just give them whatever they wanted to shut them up or to get out your face so you didn't want to deal with them? I saw a movie yesterday that was off the chain, man, with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx. Did you see that movie? And
on Netflix.
Yeah, and I just saw it last night, and what it was amazing, because they were both scared to talk to their daughter, Cause she gonna get you. Like they didn't want to be the bad guy, neither one of them. She wanted the daughter to like her, he wanted the daughter to like him. And it's like, as a parent, you can't care about that. It's like my son or my daughter is doing something wrong. I need to check it. She's doing too much phone conversation. I don't know who she's talking to. She's 13, 14 years old. I need to know. I don't care if she likes me. And that was the thing that I see today. Too many people, parents want to be their child's friend. Like, I don't want to do the hard stuff, but the hard stuff saves your life. I had this conversation with my mom years ago. And Mom, when you listen, I'm not blaming you for anything, so don't take it that way. But I had a brother that's now deceased. He died at 30 years old from a drug overdose. And the writing was on the wall for years since he was like young. And my mom, I don't know if you remember my brother Lance. He was my youngest brother. But
I don't remember if I met him.
He passed away, but it was a lot of things that, people would tell my parents, like, dude, that, you quit giving him everything. He doesn't earn anything. He's this and that, and he's being spoiled. Like, one thing that I understand about boys, you can't spoil a boy because life is going to show you different afterward. Nothing is given to a man at all. We have to earn everything. So if you spoil a boy coming up that you're just giving to him, he becomes entitled. He becomes a bum when he's out on his own because he doesn't know how to earn. Now, for women, it's a little different because people will give a woman something. Mm-hmm. Men all day give women things, because so they can earn it the other way. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as they're getting a little something, they're willing to give the whole farm sometimes. Like, so it's just different. Nobody's really paying a man for sex, okay? If a woman's paying a guy for sex, she's something's really, really detached. But it happens. Yeah, older women will pay a younger guy. I get that part. Yeah, I see that. But it has to be earned. And I felt like my brother didn't earn a lot, and he was entitled, very entitled, and he did a lot to my parents growing up, even in his adulthood, the way that he expected them to do for him, and it's their fault. I got a felony. I can't get a place to live. I need you to buy me a car. It was just so many things, and I'm just like, man. Like, I asked you to give him to me when he was 17. Like, I would have dealt with it. And like when he became too much, when he got his GED, they did end up sending here. He went to college up here in Toledo for 1 year. And he lived in my house 2 days. You know why? Couldn't handle the rules. He was 19. He wanted to smoke and drink in my house. No, sir. That won't ever happen in my house. Never. Well, you acting like my dad and be my brother. I'm like 20-something years older than you, sir. I'm not going to act like a brother. I'm going to act like a father. If you're doing it, you're not doing it in my house, not on my regard. Especially that I know your drug habit. You know what I mean? Who would I look like allowing you to do these things? But he made it. He made it. Things that he made my parents believe he couldn't do, he did it on his own because he finally has somebody that's going to say, hey, no, I'm not doing it for you. And you're not doing this in my house. And unfortunately, he couldn't kick the addiction. He went back to my parents' house with them in Savannah. And, the rest is history. But, my parents were older at the time. They did the best they could do. I get it. You know what I mean? But part of being a man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see you guys. I was so happy to hear from you. Like, when you would hit me up on Facebook, I'm like, oh, man, I've been looking for you. Like, what happened to Steven? Like, where is he at? What he's doing? I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? We just kind of lost touch. Deontay's always stayed right there. He's always been my left hand, like my guy. So, you kind of left and was like, I'm out. I'm gone. So to hear from you was amazing. I was like, man, what's up? Do you remember a kid named Jacoda?
No.
Okay, so he reached out to me right around the same time you did. And he was like, you remember me? I'm like, yeah, I remember you, Jacoda. But he wasn't with me that long. He was telling me he was good. He's got his own business, he's doing whatever. And I was just like excited for him as well. But because you guys are growing into men, like I still see the little boys you guys were. You know what I'm saying? Argumentative, didn't want to listen, pouting, didn't want to hear what I had to say. F this, F that, I don't care. I'm going to blah, 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 whatever. But to see you as men right now, Like, I always get a kick out of being around Deontay. Even like I remember my mom used to tell me all the time, I can never see you. I know you're a grown man, but you're always my baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, I understand until watching y'all. Like Deontay, I know he's a grown man, but I always see him as a kid still. Like, he can never grow up in my head. Like, he's a kid, but I know he's a grown man. You know what I'm saying? Even when we was at breakfast today, Mick was like, you know, he a baby. You know what I'm saying? He the youngest one, he's a baby. Like, no grown man want to be called a baby. You know what I'm saying? But he's grown. But it's hard to see outside of that because we saw y'all from the beginning almost. You know what I'm saying? Like how y'all were, and just to change. Like Deontay was a dusty dude, always wearing shorts in the wintertime, shorts. And he always had some good shoes though for some reason. Some Jordans.
I worked at McDonald's. That's my whole check.
So, but he had some shorts on in the summertime. Like this kid is just different. Even before, I don't remember if he remembers me, but I remember him when I was substitute teacher.
Yeah,
before he even came into my house. He was in like some special ed classes or something.
Hold on. It was SBH, Severe Behavior Handicap class. Hey. That has nothing to do with your learning ability.
No, it doesn't.
It's your behavior.
I said
those now
classes.
Classes are called ED, emotionally disturbed classes. That has nothing to do with your learning. You said that learning. It was behavior.
Behavior, my fault. Because he's got a PhD now. So whatever it was, he's a PhD person now. So good for you, sir. But he was a mess then, like just a mess. But I didn't know his story. I didn't know he was. I just thought he was some funny kid that, you know, was dusty. And they used to crack on him. They used to crack in the class. Because I think not Rosier. What was the other dude that was in your class that he used to get money at the pump? Isaiah, that was my guy too. Yeah. I don't know where he at. But I used to see Isaiah. He'd come to school with loot. Like, how did this kid get all this money?
He buy his lunch.
And he was at the first kid I ever seen at the gas station pumping gas and wiping windows for money. And he was a little dude, so
every day.
Who not gonna give
him
some money?
His job.
You come to the gas pump and this little guy's outside like, man, I'll pump your gas for you. Like, he's a kid. No grown up is gonna say, get away from here. They gonna give him some money. Go ahead and pump my gas. You know, they appreciate the hustle. So he always had money, buying clothes and whatever. I don't know. I lost touch of him. He was in New York or something. Last time I talked to him, maybe 6-7 years ago. But I just watched these guys, and I knew, you know what I'm saying, you guys had the wherewithal to become men. You know what I'm saying? I watched you your whole life. I watched all the struggles you went through with baby mama, your daughters. I mean, your wife now, the community, the fights you got in. Like, it's always, I've always been there. You know, you kind of escaped my grasp, but I knew that you would become who you are because of your wherewithal, your work ethic, the things you were doing when you left my home. I'm like, Steven is going to be X, Y, and Z. I already know. I didn't worry about you being a bum. I didn't worry about you barely making it. I don't recall you ever calling me one time for a dime after you left. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? You, and trust me, I've had a slew of kids that call me to this day. Still like, Trev, I need $50, I need $100. Can you help me with my rent? Can you help me with my car? Or I'm in jail. Can you bail me out? I mean, I get it all the time. Like, it's and not once. So I'm like, and so in my mind, I'm already like, you know, Steve got it going on. He doing something right. You know, and understanding this manhood thing, and he's moving in that vein. So to hear you have a daughter, and that, you know, you get a chance to father, is huge, man. I honor you. I honor you for that and how you move, and they no excuses. You know, the ones that are not making it, and I know the ones that are not right now, filled with excuses, and that's not manhood to me. Being a man, there's no room for excuse. You got to take care of your family. If a burglar is coming in the house at the night, who's running downstairs to see about who's putting their life on the line? Kevin Samuels say it all the time. Like, men are the protectors of the home, and it's not just physical. It's more than likely, most of the time, is financial. It's emotional. you got to be the barometer in the house. Because typically women are like this all the time. And you got to be the one to come up here and say, hey, baby, we're going to bring it on down. We're going to bring it on down, bring it on down. But nowadays, men are just up here with them. And that's what's so important about passing the torch, because I'm an old school thinker. Even though I'm not that old, I'm still an old school thinker. And I still believe on helping our women get down to, being that emotional support. Being able to meet her where she's at and bring her on down. Not bring her on down, but we be able to calm this. Sometimes it's just a touch on the shoulder, like, babe, on the back. I got you. And she know I got you. I got you. But men are not being taught that now. It's the ironclad, or F these hoes, or, milk these hoes, or I hate these hoes. Whatever the case may be, it's our derogatory instead of like, let's love on our women. Let's love on our women. Yes, sir.
That was one of the things I was always kind of like concerned about myself with growing up, is like, am I going to be able to have that capacity to be, everything, or at least enough to handle a relationship like I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I picked up just enough from my experiences in childhood and from you and Dennis, and it was at least enough manhood I picked up on that I kind of implemented once I got older and, coming to more and more self-awareness. But not having that example kind of worried me if I was going to have that capacity. But I think I'm going to call it luck, because Sarah is one of the best things to happen to me, and she's helped me through a lot. But she can only do so much, and we were very stable. There's never been any abuse. There's never been violence within the home. It's just I kind of maybe got complacent and not. And I guess there's a slew of things I could have done that would have kept her within my orbit.
Yeah.
But she being with her and having somebody who was a positive influence and who was at least showing me love, helped me out of a lot of that anger that I had coming out of the system. But then at a certain point, like, I just was like, okay, I'm not angry anymore, but like, what do I do? Where do I go? How am I supposed to feel? And then trying to find some identity for myself, because being filled with all that anger as a kid, like I didn't have an identity.
But you know what, Stephen? A part of manhood, being a man, is answering those hard questions to yourself. Nobody really can show you or tell you. Yeah, you have examples all around you, but it's about possessing the capacity to be able to say, I'm going to make it. I'm going to figure out a way to be accountable, to be intentional on what I'm doing as a man, being loving, forgiving, kind, emotional when need to be, checking your emotions when need to be. Like, anger does nothing for anybody and anything. Anger, even in sports, anger is not good. People say, well, I get mad, I can make it happen. No, sometimes you over pursuit. Yeah. When you're playing football, because you're so angry, you're blinded. Like, anger is always blind. I was just talking to a business partner today about a situation, and he felt he got done wrong. And when he talked to the contractor, it was met with a lot of physical aggression. Mother effer, you blah, 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 blah. So the contractor's talking to, oh, you went there? Oh, once you went there, now you done changed the dynamics conversation. We're going to take it somewhere else. So now, whatever it was that they were communicating about got lost in translation, because now I'm angry because you're angry and you disrespected me. And I'm now what we were at the table about is null and void. And so being a man is being able to control yourself. The Bible says a man that can control himself is control the whole city. It makes no difference to control the whole city if you can't control yourself. Like you cannot, self-mastery is manhood. And as you self-master, guess what? As the head, you know, we're not ahead of woman, we're beside the woman. But the woman was taken out of us from the side. She has a role. She was taken out of the strongest bones in our body, which is our rib. So in some retrospect, she's a protector too. That's why she's on the side. And until we learn how to properly lead, and leading doesn't mean I'm your boss. Me and Deontay in business together, but I'm still leading him. That doesn't mean I boss him around. I'm not his boss. We're partners. Right. It was my vision. He came in and helped me with my vision because he was a part of my vision. I'm not his boss. We're partners. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm gonna still lead him in things he might not know. I'm the senior leader here. You know what I'm saying? I'm still passing a torch. I'm learning from him as well. So manhood is being able to understand the differences and how I'm gonna move in it, the temperaments, how I'm gonna talk to people, how I'm gonna love on people, how I'm gonna control my anger. Like I told my partner today, I said, hey, it doesn't even matter if this dude was trying to get over on you. If you know in whom you are, in whose you are. Did I say this, Deontay?
Yeah, I was right.
I said this. I do these conversations all the time. I talk about who I am and how I am. You really cannot get me out of this vein a lot. Now, the women I've dated now, it's a little harder because I feel like I give more in a relationship with my woman. Like, she can push buttons that no man could put asunder. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. But I still maintain my composure. I might lose it a little bit, but I'm not putting my hands on, I'm not doing those things. But as far as the shouting and hollering, sometimes that comes up out of it. You might be able to poke the bear and he rage.
That's good. You know what? One of the things that helped me remember that?
Yes, sir.
I always remembered it. And it's kind of kept me cool most of the time. It's anger is one letter. That's when danger is coming. So anger is one letter away from danger. So that kind of keeps me, you know, when I need to be like, okay, I don't want to be in danger because I'm angry. It helps me a lot.
I thought you were going to say that how you learn that is when I would tell you to stick your head out the
You almost knocked my teeth out.
And I would break.
You almost knocked my teeth out. I almost had no teeth as a kid. They don't know the story. Trib this was the Escalade. It had a sunroof, big sunroof in it. And you told me to stick my head out and wave to the people outside, and then you hit the brakes and I hit my face. I busted my lip.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I almost knocked my teeth out. Yeah. But you thought it was funny.
I was immature sometimes. And even like the texting and driving, man, I'm going to tell on myself. I'm very transparent.
No, you know what you used to do?
I used to get mad. But he was grown at this point. So I wasn't doing this with foster kids. This was with a grown man.
Like, I knew.
I'm almost getting in accidents because I'm texting and driving. And I yell at him. Like,
No. I knew if Trib was driving, that I was driving in the passenger side. That's how I know. Because he's going to be on his phone. So literally every time we got in the car, I'm on the passenger side doing this because Trib's doing this texting and his calling. So I learned how to drive like this. I learned how to drive because Trib was always doing something while he was driving. He just push the gas, look it down. And I'm like, I would have to tell him, like, Trip, you're going over, you know what I'm saying? But that is a true story.
That's a true story. And I almost got in an accident one time and was livid at him, like, dude, why would you driving the car? I'm like, what? He's like, what? What are you talking about? Dude, I'm not driving. And that was the bad part of me, man. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. I don't drive and text.
Now we drive you around.
Yeah, so I get escorted.
Well, why we
so
here?
thank you. I appreciate
You
that.
get escorted.
I think that's
But he
another
always just told me he
thing.
couldn't wait for that. Yeah.
That's another thing that sets you apart. You weren't shy about owning your mistakes in front of us, or just decisions. You know, just like mistake or like
Yeah. That's heavy, man. That's a
it's
heavy
like,
piece.
you know, I don't hate him, and I'm not resentful. But Denise and Dennis, Dennis passed away. I just can't understand for the life of me. She would. It was very briefly. She kind of like gave her story, like, yeah, okay, I was abused as a kid too. I probably shouldn't have had you guys, but I did what I did, and I tried my best. It's like, okay. And then, you would agree that relationships are reciprocal. It takes, if one person is putting in the effort, even as a grown child or a grown adult, but I would, if I was Denise's kid or her child, if I'm reaching out to you, I would expect you to reach back out to me. And at a certain point, she stopped, and that's why I kind of lost touch with them. But she never really wanted to take ownership over her bad decisions that clearly had an effect on me and my siblings. And trying to even talk to her about any of that stuff, she was right. She did her best, and what I think or felt about the situation doesn't matter.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Stephen, I mean, that's just the way it is. And she's right to a certain extent because of however she's made up in her mind, she did do the best she could.
And I would agree. I would
You know what I'm
absolutely
saying?
agree.
Yeah.
And there's things I would love to tell her, but she doesn't want me around. That's fine. I'm unwelcome to them. I won't, impede and try and, because from what I understand, she's towards the end of her life. She just got out of assisted living, but I had sent a card up there to wish her happy birthday, and it got sent back because she wasn't there anymore. She tried her best, but there were other things like, that we talked about as I got older, and other things that she did that showed me I don't think she really ever looked at us as her children. Even if it wasn't like a biological thing, like, but it seemed like, she took us in, Dennis was there, and things were good for a while. And then, we're all heading into our preteen, teenage years. So that's when all the chemicals are starting to shift. Me being a boy and then being pissed off and, but, I mean, I tried to express this to so many people back then, but maybe I just didn't do it the right way. But I feel like a lot of the trauma I got coming into, adulthood was from the manipulation from her. Because, I loading me up on all that medication was completely. And do you remember one of the psychiatric persons I went, Timothy Valco? He ended up losing his practice and his license because he was overprescribing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he got sued for that, and I it didn't click till after like the lawsuit and everything was closed. But I was like, this guy who was prescribing
Yeah.
me medication,
Yeah.
and it makes
Yeah.
so much sense now why I would be a zombie all day
Yeah,
long. in
man. I
school.
remember you shaking and all kind of stuff, man. I didn't like the medication stuff at all.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
I
What
wasn't big on
Denise was a very by the book. What
Yeah.
CSB told her she did.
Yeah.
But you know, it's unfortunate because a lot of people, a lot of people deal with their wrongs or their mistakes
Mhm.
by staying away
Mm-hmm.
or trying to start all over. It's unfortunate, but I think a lot of people do that. Like, and it's in different ways. It might have been a dynamic or a parent, kid. You know, things didn't go the right way, so they don't like me. I ain't gonna talk to them type thing. But we do that in relationships.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? With any kind of relationship, we could do that with a significant other.
Mhm.
You know, I messed up this many times. We ain't right. So I need to start all over. Find me a new chick because I messed this up so bad
Right.
that I don't even just go do
That's
your own
that's
thing,
exactly
and I'm gonna
what
do my
happens.
own thing over here.
Next.
That because now it's like that video game. You know, when we used to play that video game when we was younger, and we would die. We didn't want to mess up our perfect record. We'd start the game over, so we could
Right.
go through it and get through everything the right way. You know what I'm saying? It's like we want to start all over, or because now you like, I know what I did wrong this time. I won't do it next time.
And that's true, man. People
You know
do
what I'm
that in relationships all the time. Men and women. I'm gonna jump to the next, jump to the next,
And I'm gonna do this one right.
Now,
I'm not gonna build or fix
20
this.
men deep. you know what I'm saying? And you bringing all this baggage to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. Let's just deal with what we dealt with. I think that's why I dealt with you know.
People wanna they wanna buy a new house instead of changing the light bulb.
Yes, sir.
You know, I honestly, I don't know how I made it 15 years and through my 20s too, like being as lost as I was, but how I made it 15 years with one woman.
That's
With
good.
her, with the girl who it was too, was someone I knew in the 6th grade. I've known this girl since the 6th grade. We were little, puppy dog love, first love in the 6th grade, and that lasted maybe 3-4 months of phone calls every day until Denise put a stop to that. And then seen her at a hockey game when my 21st birthday. I seen her at a hockey game, and she was already on the verge of like splitting with her dude at the time, and just walking by, and like she had always had a smile that I just recognized that smile. And
Yes,
she
sir.
walking by, she seen me, I seen her, and she gave me that smile, and 3 weeks later we were like that for 15 years.
15 years. That's good, man. I haven't had a 15-year relationship.
Married.
I have
we
had
got
50
married,
days.
I've been in a
yeah, that's
15-year
it's real
relationship.
shocking. Like
15
looking
years
back,
is
like
deep.
through my 20s too, we were together all through our 20s, and maybe that's another thing why it is time for us to separate. Is like we've just our whole adult lives we've been together.
That's dope. That's dope.
But
But that's hey, we gotta wrap it up, fellas. I'm sorry the time is spent. We got programming to do somewhere else, so we gotta get out of here. But man, it's been an honor, a pleasure.
well, thank you.
Man, thank you for coming, Steven. Man, I love you, brother. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well.
Can we stay in touch?
Yes, sir, for sure, man. I would never want. No, I got your number now. You got mine. I'm not gonna change. This is the same number I had when you was living with me, bro. I don't.
I've
change.
seen a 467.
I don't change. I'm keeping that. And people ask me, you should change your number. I never. I have too many kids that have that number that you guys can always get in touch with me. I want to know how you're doing, what you're doing, if I can help you, whatever the case may be. I feel like I'm a conduit from God. I'm his hands in the earth. So I'm here to do what I'm supposed to do, man. So thank you again. I love you much, man.
love you
Deontay, again, brother, thank you for coming. Mr. DeAndre, he's never guest experience. Like we're gonna rehab last episode so you guys can hear. A lot of y'all was calling me saying it was kind of low. We're gonna get Deontay on here again, and so you can hear his story again. But again, thank you for having us. Passing the torch, another episode 15. We just out of here.
Steven, good stuff, man.
It's excellent, brother.